Okay, this is where it gets exciting. We're going to learn how to write an essay. And so I'm going to ask you all to watch this video as many times as you need. You can pause it, rewind, but I'm going to go through it one time with you as a class with some examples about what to do for your essay. So we've already talked about the assessment task. You'll be given one question in the lesson and you don't know what the question's going to be. So you're going to come prepared with some notes. And we're going to talk about what that might look like. So today we're going to be talking about how to structure your introduction and then how to write your body paragraph. And we call that a TEAL paragraph, T-E-E-L. So first of all, let's talk about the introduction. For the introduction, you are going to learn the 3 elements of an introduction. And you're also going to write your own introduction today for the essay topic. And we're going to touch on how to write a body paragraph in our next lesson. Structure of an introduction. So in your introduction, there are 3 parts. Now, your introduction should be no more than 1 short paragraph. So we're looking at about 4 to 6 sentences. And each part has a job. So remember the acronym ICS, X. So I is for introduce the text. So in introducing the text, you're going to actually tell the reader, who is me, what is the name of the book, who is the writer, what kind of text is it, and what is it about. Okay, so we know that it's going to be about the Bone Sparrow. We know the author is Zana Freleng. Now the text type, we know that it's actually a novel. Okay, there are many different text types, like a news report or a letter. This is a novel. And the brief synopsis, you're going to just to tell me in maybe 1 or 2 sentences, what is the book about? Now, you can write anything you want about that, but I would suggest that whatever you write about the synopsis, the summary, try to connect it to what you're going to write about in the essay. So if your essay is about hope, you might write about how the synopsis, the basic summary, that there's a theme of hope. If you're going to talk about friendship, you would mention friendship in your synopsis, how friendship's very important in the book. And if you're going to talk about social responsibility, you would also perhaps look to talk about that social consciousness, responsibility in your summary. The next thing you're going to do, so once you've done the introduction to say who's the author, what's the title, and what it's about, you are then going to give us the contention. Now, this is a big word. So contention is basically, it's a statement, it's a sentence that is your overall argument that answers the essay question. Now, I've boldened overall because actually your essay will actually have 2 or 3 arguments, supporting arguments, but your contention is your overall argument, your big argument that answers the question. And you'll see an example of that in a moment. So once you've done the introduction and you've told us your contention, your big argument, then you need to signpost, which is basically tell us what you're going to be talking about. You're going to indicate it with like a signpost. What are your supporting key arguments? So the signposting is, it's 1 sentence that will indicate the 2 or 3 supporting arguments that you will be discussing. And you will actually be also signposting in the introduction, but also in your body paragraph, your topic sentence will actually connect to this. So your topic sentence of your body paragraph will be the same as your signposting. And this will make more sense when we start doing a body paragraph. So right now, just think about your intro. So introduction has the introduce the text, contention, and signpost your arguments. So here is an example of an essay question. The Bone Sparrow shows us that it is hard to fight without hope. Discuss. Now you're going to notice that this question doesn't have a question mark. Essay topics can be a bit funny like that. So the essay question is a statement. The Bone Sparrow shows us, the reader, that it is hard to fight without hope. And then you're asked to discuss it. So actually your essay question is responding, discussing this statement. And what you're basically going to do is either agree or disagree. So do you think that the bone sparrow shows us that it's hard to fight without hope, that we need hope to fight in life? Or do you think actually it doesn't do that? Now, I would guess that all of us in the room who know the novel would say absolutely yes. It does show us that it is hard to fight without hope. Okay, and so what we need to do then is talk about, well, how does it do that? And that's when you have to actually think about your arguments. How does it show us that? So the first thing you're going to do is look at the question and you're going to underline or highlight keywords. So the Bone Sparrow is obviously the novel, okay? It shows us that it is hard. So I'd say hard is a keyword. And fight, hard to fight is a keyword. And without hope. Yep, I'd say hope. So it's hard, fight, and without hope. Okay, they're the key words that we need to think about. So now that we've got those key words, you're going to brainstorm synonyms, so other words that you could use. So you're not going to repeat it. So rather than actually repeating the word saying, yes, I agree, your contention would not be, the Bone Sparrow shows us that it is hard to fight without hope. You can't copy it because that's the question. You need to put it into your own words, which is why it's good to think of synonyms so you can use similar words. So I've written some here for you. So for hard, I've thought of the word difficult, challenging. You might think of some more. You could use your dictionary. Fight, I've got the word endure, or to struggle against, or to struggle with. There are other words for fight. And without hope. Now, hope's a really, really important word, so I wouldn't change that word. But maybe instead of saying without, you could say when there is no hope, perhaps. So these are just some ways that I might actually use different words to discuss the actual question. So what you're going to do now is you've read the question and then you have brainstormed different words from the essay question. Now you need to decide your contention. This is your overall answer to the question, your big argument. What is your contention? So I've given you 3 examples. So up here you'll see the contention. This is the question. We know the question. And what we're going to do is then put that into our own words, agreeing, okay? So we would say maybe the Bone Sparrow demonstrates that, or you could say the Bone Sparrow teaches us that. That's the same thing as saying shows us, but you're just using different words, demonstrate, teaches. And these are 3 different contentions I thought of. So the Bone Sparrow demonstrates that it is almost impossible to endure difficulties without hope. Now I said almost impossible because that's kind of the same as saying hard. It's not saying it's impossible, but it's almost. You could say the Bone Sparrow teaches us that without hope, our challenges are hard to face. So that could be another way you could talk about it. And then another way you could say it would be the Bone Sparrow demonstrates, or the Bone Sparrow teaches us that we need hope to fight well. All of these 3 are very good contentions and all relate back to the question. So even though I've used different words and I've put them in a different structure, you've got freedom there. And I'd love you to think of your own contention. If you want to use one of mine, you're very welcome. But I want you to see here, and so maybe come back and rewind and pause this page. Look at how all 3 are correct, but there are different ways of interpreting that question. Okay, so now it's your turn to write your contention. So I'm going to ask the teacher, if you're watching this all together, to pause this for about 5 minutes, and everyone's going to have a go at writing your own contention based on this question. So by now you should have all written your contention, And it's now time for us to build upon that contention by choosing 2 or 3 arguments. Okay, these are your little arguments to support your contention. Okay, now each point will also be a topic sentence for your body paragraph. So let me give you an example. If I was to go with this contention, the bone sparrow demonstrates that without hope, our challenges are hard to face. Now, so I'm going to go back and remind you, okay, that I've chosen the second one here, okay? So I've just picked one of these contentions. Then I need to support that. I need to have 2 arguments or 3 arguments that support that. So I could say, yeah, it's hard to face challenges without hope because actually hope helps us fight for a better tomorrow. So I'm using the word fight because that's in the question, because we believe that if we don't fight, that things won't change, and we're not accepting things are inevitable. We actually believe we can make a change. So that's about a better tomorrow. That's one argument. And the second argument I've thought of is this, because friendship is a big theme in the book, as we've talked about. So I might say hope, is grown in friendship, because friendship allows us to share our struggles. So my second argument is this, that yes, we need hope in order to fight, to see change, but actually hope actually grows. It's strengthened in friendship because when we share our struggles, we can actually fight easier. So I've got 2 different arguments that are quite different, but they still relate to the contention. Now, after I've done that, I'm then going to think about evidence from the text. So it's all well and good for me to go, oh, that's a really good argument. Yep, I believe it helps us fight for a better tomorrow. But then I need to sit there and think, can I think of any evidence in the novel to support that? If I can't, then I'm going to have to think of a different argument. But I can think of really good examples. So for the fighting, maybe you can think about it at the moment. When's an example when people in the detention center have to fight for change? Can you think of an example? One example I can think of is when the detainees actually protest and they make sure that their experiences are being seen in the media. Okay, that was a good example of fighting. And what about friendship? How can we see friendship being a way that we can share our struggles? Well, think about Jimmy and Subi. Subi helped Jimmy reconnect with her mom, and Jimmy helped Subi know what it's like in the outside world. So I can think of really good examples for that one. Okay, so I'm happy with those 2 arguments, so I'm going to move on. But now it's your turn. So you've already written your contention. Now this is when I want you to brainstorm your own arguments. Now I'm going to give you 10 to 15 minutes. I'll let the teacher decide how long you need. But I want you to think of at least 2 arguments. If you want to do 3, that's great. And you know what? If I were you, I might write down 5 or 6 of them. And then I would take about 5 minutes to go through those arguments, think about evidence in the text, and then decide on your 2 or 3 best arguments. So we're going to ask everyone to pause now and take about 10 minutes to brainstorm your own arguments based on your contention. Okay, so by now you have written your contention and you now have chosen 2 or 3 arguments to support that. Well done. And I'm hoping that if any of you got stuck, you've been helping each other. I'm absolutely supportive of you guys sharing contentions, sharing ideas for arguments, because it's your first time you've done this. But make sure you've done this before you continue, okay? If you haven't thought of one, you can write down the one of the person sitting next to you, but you need to do that step first. Now, I want to show you a quick example of how to write the introduction. I've pulled it all together. So, the bone sparrow. So I've actually said the title, a novel, that's the text type, as I said. It's not a letter, it's not a news report, it's a novel by Zana Freleng. Who is Zana Freleng, everyone? It's the author. It's a book about an unlikely friendship between an asylum seeker boy and a girl on the outside who help each other to have hope for a better world. Now that is actually my synopsis. That's my summary. Very, very short. You might have a totally different summary. You might want to say it's about a boy dreaming of freedom. You don't need to talk about Jimmy if you don't want to, but think about how would you summarize the book. Now, this is something that you need to think about before your essay, because you know that on the essay you're going to write about the bone sparrow. So you can have half of your introduction already memorized. So think about your summary, and I've written it in one sentence. Then I'm connecting it to the question. The question's about hope. The story teaches us that without hope, it is hard to face our challenges. That's the contention. It shows the reader, argument 1, that hope helps us fight for a better tomorrow. And then argument 2, it also demonstrates that hope has grown in friendship that allows us to share our struggles. So right there, Year 7, I have actually shown the title, the author, the text type. I've done the synopsis, which is the summary. Then I've actually told us what the contention is, and I've signposted by actually mentioning my 2 arguments. That's your introduction. I can't wait to see yours. So I'm going to ask you now to spend as long as you need, and I'm going to suggest to the teacher maybe 15, 20 minutes to put it all together. I'd like you to write your introduction. This needs to be uploaded onto Sector, please. So go to Sector, go to week 7, and I want you please to have this as a separate document, your introduction, so I can see what you've done. Okay, I can't wait to see it. This is due today.